Hi, so I'm going to demonstrate my code for tutorial 7. So first we declare some regular expressions for the inputs we use below. Here we capture some of our inputs and we declare some variables that we would be using below. So essentially we're comparing the regular expressions to the inputs, and if it's equal to false, as we see in this example, it produces an error message and adds the error class to the div to produce a red border around the input box. So this hide count variable is essentially used to determine if we need to remove the hide class from the form errors div. And essentially, if it's just true, then we can just remove the error class so it does not produce no red border. It's kind of the same general flow of all of this code. So for example, the email verification, if it's false, it'll produce an error message, add the error class, and hide count would equal to 1. Otherwise, it removes the error class. It's kind of the same thing for all of this. So if password length is not between 10 or 20, then it produces an error message, adds the error class. And now we have the password count variable, and this will be used later below so that we can either keep or remove the red borders around the password and confirm password divs. And that's essentially the same for the rest of them. So if password has no lowercase letter, it'll produce an error message and it'll add the error class to the div. And it does the same thing if password has no uppercase letter. Password does not have one digit, also produce the error message. And here we can see that if password does not equal confirm password, it'll also produce an error message. And essentially the password count here would remove the error class from the div so that the red border does not show up if there is no error message, which is why we have the password count only for the error messages. So if it is 1, then the error class would remain, otherwise it will be gone. And for the same password, like this variable right here, so this is if there's an invalid password and then a valid password. So if this variable was not here, then the red border will still remain even if it was a valid password. So essentially we want to remove it after an invalid attempt comes before a valid attempt. And we just want to remove the error class from that. And here, this is the hide count variable. So essentially, if there is no errors, then we would want to keep the hide class. But if there is errors, then we obviously want to remove the hide class so the error messages are shown. And I'm just going to demonstrate my code real quick. So as we can see, if we just click register right here, there's a bunch of errors that appear. And if we don't have a valid full name, then the error message still remains. If we have a last name, then that goes away. If we have an invalid email address, then it will still have this error message. But if we just add a valid email address, then that goes away. Now, if we have a password less than 10 characters, password still remains. If we have something greater than 20 characters, password still remains. Let's just add a valid password. So right now there's no uppercase character, or so if we just delete this, then basically these are the 3 errors that we get. And if password does not equal confirm password, then this also appears. So now we'll just add a valid password. And we can see that password and confirm password don't match because we didn't add a confirm password yet. And I think I just typed something wrong, but if they're both the same essentially, then there should be no errors that pop up. So then if we go to inspect elements, we can see that there's the add class hide because there's no error messages. If we just reload the page real quick, we can see that there is no class hide. So there's essentially no class hide if there is error messages, and there's a class hide if there is error messages. My bad. So right now there's no class hide because there's error messages, and that's essentially a demonstration of my code. Thank you for listening.